Hey everyone, my name is Kiran Marla. I was a 2021 Borlaug-Ruan intern, and I'm currently a sophomore at UCLA studying neuroscience. This past summer, I interned at ICRSAT, which is a research institute in Patancheru, India. And the research question that I explored was, are there gender differentials in dietary diversity among people living in urban and peri-urban areas? The reason why this research question is important is because recently India's rate of urbanization has increased to a particularly high value. And this leads one to question whether the people living in rural areas are still have the resources needed to have access to a diverse and nutritious diet. So what did I do this summer? I researched the nutritional health of community members in India. And specifically, I did this by analyzing dietary diversity data of participants. And this was collected by other trained enumerators and was conducted via surveys. And finally, I wrote a research paper that included the results and conclusions from this data analysis. So some of the key findings from the data analysis was that I was able to identify the top consumed food groups, and these were cereals, eggs, and vitamin A rich vegetables and tubers. While the least consumed food groups were other fruits, dark green leafy vegetables, and vitamin A rich fruits. And this is something that I'll talk about a little bit more in my conclusion. Also, I was able to identify women as a vulnerable population in out of the participants that we surveyed. And this is seen by this data over here, and it shows that adult females and adolescent females are actually significantly below a minimum diet quality compared to men. Adult males had between about 17 to 22% of their population were under a minimum diet quality, while adult females and adolescent females were between 65 to 70% under minimum diet quality. So there's a pretty big disparity over there. And furthermore, I was able to identify that there are actually higher disparities between urban and rural areas among women compared to men. So as you can see, this left table over here sort of combined men and women together, and there's not really too much of a difference between urban and peri-urban populations. About 17.87 and 17.34% of the population was under a minimum diet quality, so pretty comparable. However, when looking at women's dietary diversity score in particular, which only looks at adolescent females and adult females, you can see that in peri-urban women actually have peri-urban populations have a higher percentage that are under a minimum dietary diversity. As you can see, about 68% in peri-urban and 66% in urban. So there's about a 2% significance there. So based on this data, two propositions that I included in my conclusion was that one, governments could subsidize rural farmers and particularly women to grow more diverse crops so that those living in rural areas could have access to kind of a variety of micronutrients and have a more diverse diet. And also I proposed fortifying cereals with commonly lacked micronutrients such as folic acid, vitamin B12, iron, and zinc. And these micronutrients are things that are available in those like lowly consumed food groups. And I figured that since cereal was identified as a highly consumed food group, I believe every single participant had consumed it within the last 24 hours of the survey. I figured that kind of fortifying these cereals with these lacked micronutrients would be a good way to make sure everyone had access to a nutritious diet. Overall, I think my work was important because it not only identified vulnerable populations, but also I was able to quantify the issue. And this is really important because in the end, the way we're going to address these issues is through either through policy or like government intervention. And the best way to do this is having the data to quantify, so you can sort of convey it to policymakers, and they're able to advocate for these communities to make sure that change is being done. Professionally, I guess in the future, my end goal is to be a doctor. And I think this internship really helped me do so because being a doctor is not only sort of like treating medical diseases, but it's also understanding it's like patients' issues as a whole. And that includes understanding social determinants of health. And food insecurity is a big component of this. And I think this internship allowed me to understand one social determinant of health, which is food insecurity on a deeper level. And I think this will definitely allow me to be a culturally competent doctor and sort of understand like when patients come in with any medical illness, I'll not only be able to help address the issue, but also understand like the social support system that they have and other factors that may impact this any medical illnesses that they have. And to conclude, I would like to thank, first of all, Keegan Kautzey for all the time that he dedicated to helping support me and all the other interns. I initially had like mixed feelings about this internship being fully virtual, but he worked to find a great fit for me despite the challenges due to the pandemic. And also, I'd like to thank Dr. R. Padmaja for taking me under her wings during this summer and making the whole experience possible for me and mentoring me. I'm definitely blessed to have such an impactful experience, even given this, these circumstances. And I would also like to thank Kavita Kasala for all the time that she dedicated to help me grow these past couple of months. And also, I'd like to thank Mr. Babu Pota for guiding me through virtual field immersions this summer. And lastly, I'd like to I'm grateful for all the ICRA staff members who have allowed me to work as an intern this past organization and supported me with everything and all of the resources that I need. So thank you for this opportunity.